Every Tuesday, I come on and I spoil our podcast episode for the week. We're the Booktrospective Podcast. I am one half. I'm Dominique, and Keely is my better half. And our episodes normally drop on Mondays, but today's episode dropped today because I was done with school last week and I was like, oh, I have nothing to do, and forgot to edit the episode. But this week's book is really good. So major spoiler and trigger warnings. This book deals with some very sensitive subjects. Child SA, self-unaliving, physical attack, talking about death, dying, those kind of things. And those are just like the big ones. There's lots of triggers, and I'm going to spoil it. So this is actually a really short book. This is about Noah, but really I feel like it's more so about his mom, Adrian, and kind of his dad. So Noah is 17, and he is a really good swimmer, A student, great student, all these things, but he molests, sexually assaults, two young girls that he's coaching. They're 7, he's 17. He ends up going to like a therapy because they get an attorney who's able to like keep him as a juvenile so he doesn't go to prison, and so his record be sealed, all these things. Noah knows, he's like, I'm a sick person. I cannot be better, whatever. He wanted to go to prison. The reason he even finally told was because the girls never told. He just started being very secluded, and his mom kind of like got it out of him, and he like really wanted to go to jail. He wants to be punished. He goes to therapy for like a year at this facility, and then he comes home. The mom is very much in denial. Like right after it happens, like she sits down with the girl's parents and her husband. The dad immediately like cuts Noah off, but they tell him, and she's like, oh, I thought we were going to be a team. Then she keeps thinking he can just go about regular life. He goes back to school, like before he goes to or gets sentenced, and like his swim team jumps him. And she's like so confused. They have to like sell their house because like people are spray painting things on them. They move to a new school, and she still thinks that he can come home and just be normal, and doesn't understand why her husband and all these other people have an issue with it. They also have a younger daughter who is the same age as the girls that he molested. They are in the same school and grade. So when he comes home, the mom gets a separate apartment because dad's like, he can't stay here. And she just keeps trying to force him back into real life. He can't really do it well, and other people still don't want anything to do with him. He comes home, they lie about why they're separated. She tells him that the parents are divorced, which they're not, but they kind of are getting there. And they tell the daughter that they're not, because she, obviously thinks they are. So two different stories for the kids. So he comes home, he goes back to regular school, and same thing happens. People find out about him, they jump him. He is trying to get, or she's trying to get him like friends. So like she's like, maybe I can reach out to the friends of the swim team. They're not his friends anymore, and their parents specifically said he cannot be around them. So then she gets like one of the boys from the treatment facility to come and visit. But we also are getting flashbacks throughout this book about like his experience there, and how like another boy in the center was graping the boys, and all of that, the fear and all those things. But basically right before he got released to come home, the counselor or whatever was like, I don't think he's ready. And what ends up happening is she finally begs the dad to like talk to him, just pretend, even if you can't, like pretend to like him. And the dad ends up telling him that he should run away, which Noah was like, oh, that's a great idea. The dad was like, I'll pay you to run away, and I'll pay you till you're like 21, and then whatever. And Noah wants to do that, but he cannot not be a pedophile, basically. I hope this video doesn't get flagged, because pedophilia, like, it's a true thing. He basically decides then to unalive himself. She finds him, and he does not pass away, but he writes a note and basically tells her that he's had these feelings since he was in the 7th grade, so probably about 3 or 4 years before he ever acted on it. He said he didn't mean to act on it. He first it was like, all of his friends overnight got into girls, and he didn't, and he thought that he was gay, actually, and he was like, I wish I was. And then he says that at first I was like, oh, like when the kids would go on the bus, he's like, oh, they're so cute, like that age. And then he's noticed that he was having those thoughts, and he said he would pray every night that God would take them away. And then he said when he was training the girls, he didn't even want to take the job, but everyone kind of pushed him. He would be in the pool and get aroused, and he couldn't get out of the pool so no one could see it. And then one of the girls actually, from what he says, touched him like on accident, and it kind of went from there. And so he like doesn't want anybody to have a funeral for him. He doesn't want anything. He like wants to be gone. He's not successful, but when he's in the hospital, he tells her like, I'm going to keep trying to do this. I don't want to be here anymore. She first tries to get like the hospital staff to like keep him in the psych unit. They're not believing. They think she's just panicked about him coming home. But then she basically agrees to help him because he says, if I had cancer and I asked you to help me do this, what would you do? So she is actually a nurse. She doesn't work as one, and she ends up getting like medicine, and they have this moment. She literally holds him, gives him the medicine, and just holds him until he's gone. And that tore me up so bad. And then basically after that, she ends up moving back in with the dad. They're not together because it's very strained. Like at one point she even like lies to get Katie to spend the night because Katie loved her brother. Katie starts like regressing. The daughter does. I don't know if I ever said her name was Katie. The daughter's name is Katie. She like was regressing and bedwetting and because of all the stress of this stuff. But she moves back in and she like had struggled with God for a while because like, why would this happen to them? But she gets reacclimated because she thinks that's her way of seeing Noah again. And the last thing we discover is that the dad, who would have absolutely nothing to do with his son after this, did the exact same thing. When he was a teenager, he assaulted some cousins and no one ever knew. And his dad also cut him off and his mom did the same, all the same thing. So history just is repeating itself because this lady is married to this man and has no idea of his history. And then he hates his son because he said he reminds him so much of himself. And he was like, very like, he can't be around my daughter, all these things, like changing the locks. But I'm like, you're around your daughter. But yeah, so this book, I loved it. I think it was very well written, very good topic. We gave it 4 stars. But the topic itself is so difficult. I have been a long standing, and I still the same way. I have very strong beliefs about this case, about those type of people. And I do believe they deserve to be away. I think it makes it a little bit different because he is a child. It doesn't make it any better, but it's just like you can see where he was failed a lot. And as a mom who has both a son and a daughter, I just can't imagine, like, you know, you always want to say like, never, 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 I would never let him come back in my life or whatever, but you don't know until you're put in that situation. I don't think I could do what she did with him. That I literally bawled because, and as I was recording, I don't know if you can hear it, but I was crying again because I just can't imagine, like I mean, I guess that's my child's choice, but I can't imagine participating in that, even if they were just like chronically ill or whatever the case may be. But it's just like, it's a very good topic like to have. I love books that like get this going. This topic I feel like was handled very well in this book. But again, you know, obviously this is, you know, some people are going to be sensitive to that. And that's 100% understandable. So I hope we handled this with as much care as possible. I highly recommend reading this book. It pulls those uncomfortable feelings out that we don't ever want to talk about that we should. And I am interested in reading more of her work. So if you're interested in hearing this episode in more detail, it is over on Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to your podcast. And I will be back next week with another book spoiler.